Ready or Not has a problem. Now, I want to make something clear right from the start. I actually really enjoy this game. Its dark, gritty vibe and no bullshit nature is exactly what we need in the gaming industry, just like it used to be. It's definitely a game that I would shove into the faces of AAA studios and tell them that this is what a true video game is, and at the end of the day, I'm rooting for it to succeed. But like any game, it's got some rough edges that could use some attention. So what I'll be sharing here is just my personal take on what needs improvement. First off, let's talk about performance, one of the biggest issues with Ready or Not currently. This game has serious issues with performance, and it's something you'll notice almost immediately when playing. Frequent FPS drops, stuttering, and lagging can happen at the worst possible moments. And in a tactical shooter like this, that can be a deal breaker. It's frustrating when you're carefully planning a breach, lining up a shot, and then bam, everything freezes for a split second, or the frame rate tanks so bad and it just completely breaks your flow or immersion. These performance problems impact both the single player and multiplayer experiences, creating inconsistency across missions. Some areas seem to run better while others struggle, particularly during intense action scenes. It's clear that optimization is needed for smoother gameplay, and this is something the developers really need to address if they want players to stay invested long term. And this isn't just a minor complaint, it's all over the player community. If you check Steam reviews, performance issues are one of the most common, with players mentioning the frame rate drops and stuttering, which basically makes the game almost unplayable at times. Some of the reviews are even saying since they upgraded the game engine from UE4 to UE5, it has gotten noticeably worse. All in all, this takes away from the gritty realism Ready or Not is known for, and honestly from the fun as well. Right now, it feels like the game is still in a rough state technically. If the developers can implement optimization patches to fix these FPS drops and improve stability, it would instantly alleviate the gameplay experience. Until then, these performance issues remain one of the biggest barriers preventing Ready or Not from reaching its full potential. Now, let's move on to AI behavior, another area where Ready or Not could use serious improvement. Unfortunately, both enemy and teammate AI in Ready or Not have noticeable issues that affect the experience. Enemy AI often behaves in a way that feels unfair or unrealistic. Instead of strategic responses, enemies will sometimes react with lightning-fast accuracy, shooting almost instantly, even through walls or objects. This can create situations where it feels like the AI has superhuman perception, spotting you and firing before you even have a chance to react. Many Steam reviews highlight this exact frustration as well, with players mentioning how enemies seem to see through cover or react unnaturally fast, making engagements feel unbalanced and breaking immersion. This kind of behavior can turn tactical planning into a game of luck, which is especially frustrating in a game that aims for realism. Teammate AI, which has its own set of challenges, often feel more like a liability. Steam reviews frequently call out issues where teammates fail to follow orders, struggle to take cover, or even walk directly into your line of fire. This kind of feedback reflects the frustration players feel when they can't trust their squad to perform even the basics. For players who crave a realistic, immersive experience, these AI issues make Ready or Not feel unfinished. Many Steam reviews echo this sentiment, with players calling for smarter AI to give the game the tactical depth it's aiming for. Addressing these issues could make missions feel much more intense and rewarding, allowing for true strategic planning instead of constant compensating for AI flaws. Another issue that really affects players is the lack of content in Ready or Not. For the price of the base game, which is $50 US, players expect a fair amount of variety, especially in a tactical shooter where different maps, missions, and objectives can make each experience feel fresh and unique. However, Ready or Not doesn't quite deliver on this front. While the gameplay mechanics are promising, there simply isn't enough content in the base game to justify the price tag. This has been a common point of criticism amongst players who feel that they're not getting enough value for what they paid. You only get 18 missions, and in my opinion, it should be more closer to 30 or so. The missions and maps, though intense and atmospheric, start to feel repetitive fairly quickly. Without a wide selection of objectives, locations, or game modes, players are often running through similar scenarios repeatedly. For a game with a high price point, this can feel limiting, and many players have expressed in reviews that they were hoping for more variety, especially in a genre where different tactical environments and challenges can greatly enhance replayability. Then there's the issue of DLC pricing. While downloadable content is supposed to enhance and expand the game, the current DLC offerings feel somewhat underwhelming for their price. For $10, they only offer 3 new maps, 3 new guns, and some new cosmetics. Players expect DLC to provide substantial additions, but instead the devs opted for minor features and cosmetic options that don't add much to the core experience. This, and again the technical performance on these new maps, has left many feeling that the DLC doesn't justify its price tag, especially given the lack of base content. As a result, some players feel like they're being asked to pay premium prices for what is still a relatively limited package, which can leave a sour taste when considering the overall value. And lastly, let's talk about mod support. Now, I'll say up front, modding is a fantastic feature to have, and the Ready or Not community has created some incredible mods that enhance gameplay, add content, and fix some of the issues we've discussed. However, this has led to a bigger issue, and in my opinion, the game feels almost dependent on mods to deliver a complete experience. Many players find themselves relying on mods not just for fun, but for essential quality of life improvements and even fixes for the base game. Take for instance mods like the Gunfighter mod, which aims to provide a more realistic gunfight experience, improving things such as how weapons perform to how many slots you can have on your vest, addressing some of the frustrating inconsistencies that the base game currently suffers from. Another mod that may feel essential is the AI Realistic mod pack, which adds different difficulties for enemy AI and how they respond. With this mod, players experience smarter, more realistic AI responses that make missions feel more intense and immersive, something that the game itself struggles to deliver consistently. This highlights the game's reliance on the modding community to fill in the details that would normally come standard in a premium tactical shooter. These mods are great in that they provide features, fixes, and improvements that enhance the game, but it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Some players might argue that this dependence on mods is actually a good thing. It opens up the game to a wider range of player creativity and customization. However, relying on mods for what feels like basic gameplay improvements can make the base game itself feel incomplete. Some players even feel that the developers are leaning on the modding community to patch the holes in the game rather than addressing these issues directly in updates. While mods are a powerful tool for customization and extending gameplay, Ready or Not currently feels overly dependent on them, with players relying on the community to bring the game up to a level that meets their expectations. Remember, we are paying the developers for the game, not modders, and to me this isn't ideal, especially for new players who might not want or know how to install mods just to get an enjoyable experience. If the developers can work toward incorporating some of these modded improvements into the official game, it would show a commitment to quality and help the game stand out on its own, rather than leaning so heavily on player-created content. So to sum it all up, Ready or Not is a game with incredible potential, but it's currently held back by a number of issues that keep it from reaching the heights it's aiming for. From performance problems and AI inconsistencies to limited content and a heavy dependence on mods, there's a lot here that still needs work. And I could honestly go on and on about areas where improvements are needed, but I think I've rambled on enough. Despite all the criticisms, I really want this game to succeed. Ready or Not has a unique atmosphere and a realistic tactical style that you just don't see often in today's shooters, and it has the potential to do something truly great. I want it to reach the forefront of tactical shooters, to be able to stand toe-to-toe with AAA titles, and to be the game that fans of the genre have been waiting for. But for that to happen, there's still a lot of work to be done. I hope developers are listening to the community's feedback and taking these issues seriously, because if they can iron out some of these rough edges, Ready or Not could become the definitive tactical shooter experience. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any thoughts or experiences with Ready or Not, drop them in the comments. I love to hear what you think needs to be fixed or added to get this game to its full potential. Take care, everybody.